Good morning, all of you. So we'll continue with the chapter French Revolution in History, and we already had a look at how the French society was constituted during the late 18th century. That it was constituted into three estates, and the first and the second estate, they did not have to pay any tax. Only the third estate, they had to pay tax. And during this condition, when Louis XVI he ascended the throne. Okay, which year Louis XVI ascended the throne?
Mid 1774.
Okay, so 1774, when Louis XVI he ascended the throne, he found that the treasury was empty, and so there were various reasons why the treasury was empty, and then treasury was empty. They had fought wars, so many wars, and so they have taken. Loans also, and now interest was mounting. They had to pay interest also, and all means everything else, all the expenses, of the state, the salaries of the government officials, everything had to be given. Even the huge palace at Versailles, now it also had to be maintained, and now they did not have enough money. So what they thought that they thought that they will increase the taxes, and we already know that only the third estate people, they had to pay taxes. And during this time, even the condition of the people, it became more worse, because the population of France, it also grew a lot, and the production of food grains, it was not able to keep in pace with the means the population of the people, it rose, but the production of food grains, it could not keep pace with the growing population, and so the prices of the food grains, they grew. And so condition of people was very bad. And when they heard that the king is going to increase taxes, so they thought that they will protest. Now protest people have already protested and revolted before also, but it could not bring about much effect, because they did not have the means, and they did not have proper you could say planning, so they could not succeed. And now all this was left on the people of the people of the third estate, means those people in the third estate, those who have made a lot of money through trade, and also big businessmen, and merchants and traders, and government officials, and professors and teachers. So all the people who were educated in the third estate, and those who have made a lot of money, now the responsibility fell on them to do something about this whole system. And then we had certain philosophers also coming during that time. So we studied about Locke and Rousseau, and about Montesquieu, and how they proposed that society should not be constituted like that. It should have there should be a social contract between the people and their representatives, and all the powers should not be concentrated in one hand. It should be divided among the executive, legislature, and judiciary, and so on. And we also had a look at the outbreak of the revolution, that how uh, the king, he had to increase the taxes, and he could not do it alone, so he called for a meeting of the estates general. And the meeting did not go well. The people of the third estate, they staged a walkout, and they declared themselves to be a national assembly, and they thought that we will not disperse from this place till the time we have made a new constitution for France. And in that condition, during that time, they had a severe winter, and again severe winter, harvest was not good, and again the prices of the goods rose. And after that, we study about the storming of Bastille. And so this all we had done, and we have already done till the place that Louis XVI, he finally gave recognition to the National Assembly, and he said that okay, from now onwards, my power could be under the constitution, they could be reduced, be under the constitution. And so he accepted that. And so on the night of 4th August 1789, the assembly, they passed a decree, and they abolished all the privileges, the system of privileges and obligations, they did all. And even the churches, they also had to give up their privileges, tithes. They could not take tithes anymore, and even the lands which were owned by the church, they were also confiscated. So we have done till the place. And so now we move on, and as you know, we know that the king, he said that okay, from now on my powers could be limited by a constitution. And so the National Assembly, which was in the process of making a new constitution, was for France. So they did that, and the main reason for doing it was to limit the powers. Till that time the king had absolute power. All right, there was no one over him, no rules and regulations through which he ruled. Now he ruled as per his wishes, so now his powers would be limited by a constitution. And now they took the thought, the idea, which was propagated by Montesquieu. He said that there should be a division of power in and all power should not be concentrated in one hand, so there should be a division of power in legislature, executive and judiciary. And so they did like this only, and so this made France a constitutional monarchy. It was still a monarchy, means it was still ruled by a king, but the powers of the king were limited by a constitution. So this is known as constitutional monarchy. Now this constitution of 1791, now it gave the power to the National Assembly to make laws, and this National Assembly was indirectly elected. Now if you have a look at page 10, it will tell the whole process. And now what happened, that all people could not vote. So who all could not vote? Women means no women could vote. So women, children and youth below 25 years, they were not allowed to vote. Okay, so they were all called as passive citizens. So women, children and youth below 25 years, they were called as passive citizens, and they could not vote. Only active citizens were entitled to vote. And who were active citizens? Men above 25 years of age, and those who paid taxes equal to 3 days of a laborer's wage. Means if you gave tax equal to that, then only you could become an active citizen. And so these active citizens, they voted for a body which was called as electors. Then the electors voted among themselves for a body which was called as the National Assembly. Okay, and so you need to know who were active citizens and who were passive citizens and who could vote. So that was the National Assembly, and they formed a new constitution for France, making it a constitutional monarchy. And the new constitution, it started with the Declaration of Rights of Man and Citizens. Alright, why man? Because all these privileges, they were still given only to men, because women were left aside. They were in the category belonging to the passive citizens. So they were passive, they were not entitled to vote. And so this started with the Declaration of Rights of Man and Citizen. So here under this, they gave the rights such as the right to life, so right to life, and freedom of speech, freedom of opinion, equality before law. Now all these in the new constitution, they were established as inalienable rights. Inalienable means which you cannot alienate, which you cannot remove, take away from any individual. Means these rights every individual should have. So that is why they are called as inalienable. Means you cannot alienate them, you cannot remove them, you cannot take it away from any man, and that they belong to each human being by birth, and they could not be taken away. And so under the new constitution, it was stated that it was the duty of the state, means duty of the state of France, to protect the rights of the citizens, and if their rights are violated, then they need to restore the rights of the citizens. Now during this time, 18th century, most of the people in France, men and women, they were illiterate, means they did not know how to read and write. And so how to make them understand about these new ideas and new things, because they could not read. And so the people, they came up with images, so that through images they can tell people what they were talking about. So if they saw a certain symbol, they knew okay what this symbol stood for. And so this particular painting on page 12 and 13, now this was done by Le Barbier, and in this painting he uses many symbols, and this was to convey what the Declaration of Rights stated. Now it was a written document, most of the people could not read and write, and so they brought up these symbols so that the people could understand that what this Declaration of Rights was all about. Okay, first here, the broken chain. Now you know chains are used to bind, to fetter slaves, to bind slaves, and broken chain means act of becoming free. So a broken chain. Then a bundle of rods or faces. This you already know. You know one rod can be easily broken, but you know entire bundle it cannot be broken easily. So what it signifies? That strength lies in unity. Okay, then this eye in the triangle radiating, giving forth light. Now this stands for the all seeing eye, the eye which sees all, and it symbolizes knowledge. And what it means, that the rays of the sun means knowledge, it will drive away the all the dark clouds of ignorance. Okay, then we have scepter. Now in earlier times the king, they used to have something like this in their hands, and it showed that they had power. So a scepter is a sign of royal power. Then snake biting its tail to form a ring. You know what does ring symbolize? Ring symbolizes eternity, means to a ring there is no beginning and no end. So it symbolizes eternity, no beginning, no end. Then the red Phrygian cap. Now these caps, these red Phrygian cap, they were worn by a slave when he became free. So when a slave he became free, so he used to wear this cap, symbolizing that he is no longer a slave. Then blue, white and red, they are the national colors of France. Then the winged women, it is a personification of law. Personification, you know, when we want to personify things which are inanimate, means things which are not living, and we symbolize it through a person. So like obviously you know law is not a living entity, but here we have personified it in the form of a winged woman. So the winged woman personified the law. Then the law tablet, what it signifies? That the law is same for all, and all are equal before law, no one is above the law. So this was for those people who could not read and write, so they could also understand what this new constitution was all about, what was this Declaration of Rights of Man and Citizen. Okay, let's move on. Have you all understood till here?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So you
Yes,
know,
ma'am.
now
Yes, ma'am.
so though Louis XVI, you know, he gave recognition to the National Assembly, and he also agreed that okay, from now onwards my powers could be limited by a constitution. But you know the situation in France, it continued to be, even after that the situation in France, it continued to be tense, because you know though Louis XVI, he has signed that constitution, but you know secretly he entered into negotiations, talks and discussions with the king of Prussia. Now why? Because he wanted to bring down this revolution. Obviously he was a king and he did not wanted his powers to be taken away from him. So though because his subjects they were revolting, so though under force he gave recognition to the National Assembly and even signed the constitution, but you know still he was against it, and he did not wanted to lose his powers. So he went into a secret negotiation, secret discussion with the king of Prussia. And you know all this was happening in France, and the neighboring states, now they were also worried about these developments, because monarchy is was the system of government during that time, and they all the neighboring countries, they were also afraid now that if this is happening in France, then it would come to their countries also, and their subjects would also protest and rebel against them, and they also have to give up their power. And so you know rulers of the neighboring countries, they were also worried, and they thought that they will send their troops to France to put down, to suppress this revolution or rebellion by the people. And but you know before this could happen, the National Assembly, it acted first, and they voted in April 1792, and they declared a war against Prussia and Austria. And so when they declared a war, they needed so many people, so thousands of people, thousands of volunteers, those who said, okay, we will fight for this, because this war was for their rights, which long had been taken away by the people of the first and the second estate, and they wanted equality, so they were ready to fight for in these revolutionary wars. And so thousands of volunteers, they thronged, means they filled in, they came, and they were present, and they were present to join the army. And now these people, these volunteers, these people, they saw this war as a war of the people against the kings and the aristocracies. Kings, you understand, aristocracies means the nobility, people belonging to the noble, the ruling classes. And so this was seen as a war against the kings and the aristocracies, not only in France but throughout Europe. And when the people, the volunteers, they came from their provinces, from their cities, from their towns, to the capital city. And on the way they used to sing many songs. And so among the patriotic songs they sang was the Marseillaise. It is pronounced as Marseillaise. Alright, so among the patriotic songs they sang, one was very important, which was called as Marseillaise, and this was composed by the poet Roger de Isle. And why it is called as Marseillaise? Because it was sung for the first time by the volunteers who came from Marseille. So the volunteers who came from Marseille, they first sang the song, and that is why it got its name as Marseillaise. And Marseillaise is now the national anthem of France. So people got ready for these revolutionary wars, with the National Assembly has they said that they will fight against Prussia and Austria. And now whenever there are wars, so there will always be profits also, then there'll be losses also. So they were revolutionary wars, they brought losses and economic difficulties whenever you are into war. And if a war goes on for long, you lose so many resources, you lose so many people. And the economy of the country during that time, it also falls. And so the people, they face so many losses and the economic difficulties also. And because most of the men, they volunteered and they were fighting in these wars. And now the women, they were left to cope with everything. They have to look after their families also, all right. And they also had to earn a living, because the men were out there fighting war. And so now not only they had to look after their families, but they also had to earn something so that they can look after their families. And so though they face so many problems, but still large sections of people, they were convinced that no, this war should go on. Though they were facing so many problems, but still they wanted that these wars should go on. Why? Because this constitution of 1791, it gave recognition and it gave rights only to the richer section of the people. Passive citizens, people who did not pay taxes, they were passive citizens. All women, they were passive citizens. And because of that, so people, they thought that no, these wars should go on, because we did not get anything from this new constitution. So they also wanted that their problems also should be sorted out. And so during that time, political clubs where people came and discussed about the conditions, so they became a rallying point, places where people came for discussions and debates. And people, they came here and they wanted to discuss about the policies of the governments, and what they plan to do in this particular condition. And so many political clubs, they came up during this time. And the most famous of these clubs was the Jacobin. So the Jacobin clubs was the most famous club. You need to remember that. And now this Jacobin club, it got its name from the former convent of Saint Jacob in Paris. So that is why Jacobins. Now not only men were active during this time, not only that they were there out on front fighting, but even the women, they had been active throughout this period. And they also formed their own clubs, because they did not get anything from this new constitution. all women, though they were educated or not, still all were considered as passive citizens. And so, they also formed their own club, because they also had their demands, and they wanted their demands to be met. Now, a little bit about the Jacobin club. Now, the members of these Jacobin club, they belonged to the less prosperous section. We are talking about, obviously, the people belong to the third estate, and now the richer people among the third estate, the big businessmen, the traders, the merchants, the court officials and all, they already had money and all. Now, the people and those who did not get any were the people who were less prosperous, who did not have much money. And so the members of the Jacobin club, they were basically people who belonged to the less prosperous section of the society. And so they included the small shopkeepers and artisans like shoemakers and pastry cooks, watchmakers, printers, servants, and also people who worked on daily wage basis. And the leader of the Jacobin club was Maximilian Robespierre. Underline Maximilian Robespierre. And so, a large number of these Jacobins, they decided that they will now start wearing long striped trousers. See in figure 9, he is wearing long striped trouser, and they were similar to what was worn by dock workers, people who worked on the docks. So, they they started to wear these long striped trousers. And why they started to wear this? Because they wanted to identify themselves separately from the fashionable section of society. Means they wanted to show that they are separate, they are different from the richer sections of the society. And the richer section of the society, they wore knee breeches. So what was this knee breeches? It was like a trouser, and you could, it was just till below the knee, and they tied it below the knee. So that is why it was called as knee breeches, because it ended just below the knee. And so they wanted to separate themselves from the upper sections, and that is why they started to, these people of the Jacobin club, they started to wear these long striped trousers. And now, when they started to wear this, what they wanted to tell the people, they wanted to tell that the power which was in the hands of the richer section of the society, now it is going to end. So whatever power the upper section of the society, it had for so long, they wanted to tell that now it is going to end. And so these Jacobins, they came to be known as sans-culottes. Now, what sans-culottes means? It basically means those without knee breeches, means those who did not wear knee breeches. And these sans-culottes, man, they wore these long dock pants, and in addition they also wore the red Phrygian cap, the red cap which symbolized liberty. So they wore that also. But again, see, only men were allowed to do so. Women, however, they were not allowed to do so. Okay. Now, so in summer of 1792, the Jacobins, they planned a rebellion. They thought that, okay, now we will do something about our needs and demands. So they planned a rebellion. Insurrection is a rebellion. And why they wanted to revolt and rebel? Because the prices of bread were very high, and the supply was not sufficient. People wanted bread, but there was not enough bread in the market, and even the prices of bread were very high, and that is why they wanted to rebel against it. And so on the morning of August 10th, by force they stormed into the palace of Turillus, and they massacred, means they killed the guards of the king, and they also held the king as hostage. So these Jacobins, they went to the king's palace, killed his guards, and held the king as hostage for several hours. And later on, the assembly, they voted and they imprisoned the royal family. And after that, elections were held, and from now, all men 21 years and above, regardless of wealth, got the right to vote. Earlier, men 25 years and above, but only those who paid taxes equal to 3 days of laborer's wage, only they could vote. But now 21 and above, all men of 21 years and above, whether they had money or not, whether they had property or not, and whether they paid taxes or not, all were now allowed to vote. But still, you see, no women were there. And now this newly elected assembly, it was called as the convention. And so on 21st September 1792, the convention, it abolished monarchy and it declared France to be a republic. Okay, what is a republic? You know, India is also a republic. So what is a republic? What do you understand by the term republic?
Ma'am, it's a form of government where people can elect.
Yes, anyone
Ma'am, where
else?
people
What is
can
a
elect
republic?
the government.
Republic is a place where, the head of the state is an elected person and not a hereditary ruler. So, we are a republic. Who is the head of Indian state? Who is the head of Indian state? The whole of India. Who is the head? Come on. Come on,
Prime Minister.
yes?
Prime Minister.
Beta, Prime Minister is the head of the government.
Ma'am, Ramnath Kovind.
The president. Okay? So the president is the head of
Ramnath
the...
Kovind.
Yes, the president is the head of the Indian state. The prime minister is the head of the government. The head of the state is the president. So, in our country, president is an elected person. Though all people, we don't have direct elections for that. And, the people of the parliament and the state legislative assemblies, they elect the president. But still, there's an election for the position of the president. And so, a place where republic, what do you call a republic? Form of government where the people, they will elect their government and they will also elect the head of the government. And so, India is a republic. So now France also stopped being a monarchy and it was declared as a republic. And so now there was no hereditary monarchy after this in France. Means this convention, it abolished. Obviously later on, when Napoleon came, he reintroduced monarchy, but for a few years, this happened under the Robespierre government, under the Jacobins, that they abolished monarchy and declared France to be a republic. And then Louis XVI, he was sentenced to death by a court, and this was done on the charges of treason. So what is treason? Means when a person betrays his own country, so that is called as treason. And so Louis XVI was executed, means he was killed on the charges of treason. So on 21st January 1793, he was executed publicly, means he was killed publicly at Place de la Concorde. And later on, his queen Marie Antoinette, she also met with the same fate. And so France becomes a republic. So we'll stop here for today. Have you all understood?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that's nice. So I will want all of you to go through the portion that we have done today, so that when we meet in the next class, you may be able to understand it all much better. All right.